Alright YouTube, what is up? I'm back again with another video and everything like that. I have something a little bit different in the works. I'm on vacation actually right now, but I'm back here. You know, I had to give a little commentary. I had to give just a little commentary and switch it up just a little bit. Kevin Durant is something that's being talked about a little more and more after the last couple days, especially after Andre Iguodala's interview with The Breakfast Club. Who would have thought that The Breakfast Club would have had one of the biggest interviews in all of sports in 2019? That's pretty crazy in itself. But an Esquire from New York wrote two long-form essays that Dan Luss, that is the Esquire's name, from New York, and he pointed out this very interesting question, if you will, to say the least. He asked, well, he didn't ask, this is just the headline of the column, is the pending Durant Warriors lawsuit that no one is talking about. And in the story, he says how Durant has until 2022 to come up with the lawsuit because for medical mispractice with his Achilles injury. Obviously, Durant went down early in the playoffs in the second round against the Houston Rockets. It didn't look good to everybody on the internet, to everybody on social media, and it was kind of like a battle, obviously, right? So it was one half saying that he tore his Achilles, Durant is done. I don't know why they're trying to hide it and make it seem like it's not that, while the other half was like, you guys are just people who happen to have social media accounts. You have no idea what's going on. You aren't trained professionals like the medical staff in Golden State is. So they had that back and forth throughout the entire playoffs, and they listed him as day-to-day. They listed him as questionable, and this was something that Chris Haynes brought up earlier on Undisputed. Chris Haynes brought that exact point up on Undisputed of he feel like that's where one of the ways that Golden State really messed up in the process by saying, it was day to day, he was questionable and all of these things, because he was asked every single day, not Kevin Durant himself, but the coaching staff and Steve Kerr and the players each and every single day. So you can imagine there was a month gap in between that game he got hurt in the second round of the playoffs all the way up to, the second week of the NBA Finals of, is Durant coming back? How much would Durant have helped in this situation, A situation, B situation? And after a certain while, subconsciously, whether the players and coaches know that they're doing it or not, they're going to put out that pressure that Andre Iguodala was talking about in that Breakfast Club interview onto him and kind of rush him to get back. And Iguodala said from personal experience, that is what I experienced in 2018 against the Houston Rockets. I hurt myself and we barely slipped out of the series in Game 7, and they kind of rushed me for the finals because we have to win this third championship. So all of that long-winded way of saying Kevin Durant has a legitimate case in a couple of years to sue these guys, because if Kevin Durant returns from this injury after a season out, and he isn't the same Kevin Durant we've seen before. I mean, you've seen the scenario and the situation so many times, so many different levels and so many different sports where a superstar player gets hurt, suffers a very serious injury, and just never can quite return to be the same thing. And when you're a player and an icon with the magnitudes and the size of Kevin Durant, probably the second, obviously top 2 player in the world, top 2 most popular player in the world, probably. I don't know where him and Steph, I don't know if he's more popular than Steph or if Steph's more popular, but top 2 most popular player in the world. Jeremy Lin's probably up there too, thanks to, his homeland and his natives, and he has an entire demographic of people following him after, so you have to respect Jeremy Lin in that aspect of the game and popularity and stuff like that. But to have a player with a brand as large as Kevin Durant's, it's up there with LeBron. It's up there, it's past Giannis, obviously. It's past James Harden. It's past Russell Westbrook. When you think about all of these things and how much money goes into that, the Nike, the movie, he did Thunderstruck, and I don't know if he wants to continue doing that. I know he's doing his entire production company, which also adds into the rumors of going to New York with Brooklyn. If he wants to go to Brooklyn with Kyrie Irving and they can do something in the East there, D'Angelo Russell leaves, and you still have LeVert, and you still have Jared Allen there, and you still have Nat Kraft. But Dinwiddie, you still have Dinwiddie, and you still have Joe Harris, and you still have all of these guys on Brooklyn who's, were coming up with something that was pretty nice last season. To have Durant have that opportunity to be able to go to the Knicks or to go to the Nets, it seems like it's more and more likely, but at the same time, there's still a very good chance of Durant staying because, you look at how the team operated and acted around him when he was gone those few weeks in the playoffs. They really missed him. From the pregame routine they had with them in the hallways to just post game and practices, and the way that they consoled him and the way that they took care of him. All of those things combined, like, you can tell that the team was really starting to grow and gel and like each other with this Durant experiment. I mean, you have to think about how Durant even came to Golden State in the first place. Is because those three guys, Green, Clay, and Steph, all put him in a room and was like, hey man, you have to do this, and basically begged this man to come join and create this super team, this, one of the greatest teams in the history of the NBA and stuff like that. So while there's still a greater chance to re-sign with Golden State more than some people would think, I think that the chances of him leaving and going to one of those New York teams is also picking up steam. Now, why would he go to the Knicks? I don't know, because why would you want to go to the Knicks by yourself unless you know somebody else is coming with you, whether that be one of the guys from Philly, Tobias Harris, Jimmy Butler, or Kyrie, changes his mind last second, because we're not at still official signing dates until Sunday. We have a couple days since then, and everybody knows what can change in the course of a few hours if you have the right people talk to you. I'm looking at you, DeAndre Jordan, and Kemba Walker is going to Boston. So maybe Boston, even though Boston's not even in it, they're not even in the talks, but if Boston can find a way to bring them on, and they have a new start of a new big three, since Horford and Irving are leaving, that will be their new chance, is Durant and Kemba, and they could do something like that. We don't know. What we do know is that there's a great chance that Kevin Durant can return from his injury. Knock on wood, Lord willing, that it doesn't happen, but the history of players who have torn their Achilles in the NBA has never been favorable in terms of the player. Like, when you think about it, you don't even have to go even further than Golden State. You just look at DeMarcus Cousins, Boogie Cousins. He tears his Achilles, comes back the next year with Golden State, and he just couldn't get right. He couldn't get right as hard as he tried, as hard as he worked out, as much time as he took off. I believe he took off like just the right amount of time, because he went to a franchise and a team that didn't need him into the postseason. So he didn't rush back or anything like that. It was a decent sized timetable to when he got hurt, which I believe was probably in January 2018, February 2018, right before the All-Star break 2018, all the way up to post All-Star break 2019. He had a great break and everything like that, and he could just never get his legs up under him. He could never quite find that win and look like Boogie Cousins that we all knew before. Obviously, Dominique Wilkins is the one guy who defies that rule, because Dominique Wilkins was not human. Kevin Durant is also a guy who is not human, so maybe he's the second guy in NBA history who returns from an Achilles injury and does even better than what he did before the injury and all the surgery and stuff like that. But this decision to rush him, whatever it was, pressure him, find a loophole to clear him to play when he wasn't indeed ready, and the chances of him re-injuring himself were far greater than the chances of him just going out there and being able to play 30 plus minutes as he has usually on a night-to-night basis. The Warriors are in some trouble. You think about in the NFL, in football when obviously the first lawsuit from a player to the league that goes to mind other than the retired players and the whole CTE concussion lawsuit is Colin Kaepernick and Eric Reed and their lawsuit against the league for collusion and everything like that, and losing money from teams because they couldn't get signed, and they couldn't get signed for extended periods amount of time. Kaepernick blackballed completely out of the league, and while it was difficult for him to actually prove it through numbers and all of these things, this is a different situation in the NBA where Durant can just point to his stats, or he could just point to the amount of time that he missed on the floor. If he missed 18 months instead of 12 months, well, he's missing out on 18 months of potential income on outside opportunities of the court that he could get because of what he was doing on the court. So there's a lot of things, a lot of moving things involved. Will he actually sue the Warriors? I don't know. I think that's a pretty tough chance to see a star of his magnitude pull a move like that, especially when he's already got so much money. But at the same time, you think about what the NFL did, and with Colin Kaepernick, they ended up settling, even though it was less than $10 million, they still settled. So the NFL, they wouldn't settle unless they thought that something was wrong there, something was fishy, something, he had a point. Kaepernick had a small point to prove that maybe he could win that settlement, and he can prove that the NFL was blacklisting him. So we never know what's going to happen if that case with Kaepernick in the NFL impacts Durant's decision to sue them or not. We shall see, but I think it is a possibility, and I think if Stephen A. saying that he can go to Brooklyn, even though Stephen A. isn't necessarily the guy for breaking news in terms of which free agent is going where in the NBA and stuff like that, even though he has good connections, he has developed those relationships with those players because he is a celebrity now. He's no longer just a reporter. He's a celebrity. So, that's very real. But whether he goes to Brooklyn, like Stephen A. says, or if he goes to the Knicks, which Chris Haynes is feeling confident about, or whether he just stays pat in Golden State and lays low while he recovers and while he rehabs, it doesn't matter. I think the chances of Kevin Durant suing the franchise, suing the medical staff and the Warriors, I think it is real. Long story short, the link to the man's story, Dan Lust, will be in the description. Make sure you go read it in entirety. Show him some love on Twitter or whatever and tell him I sent you. Until next time, take care of yourself.